Hello children. Today we are going to start with History chapter 2. That is history, when, where, how and what. In previous chapter we have discussed about the introduction of history, that what is basically history. History means our past. So in this chapter we are going to study about all the four aspects related to the past, which is what means what has happened, where, the place where the changes occurred, or how, the method through which the people developed, and when means the time period when the people developed. So in this chapter we are going to study about all the time, places and all the events which are related to the history or to the development of people. In this chapter we'll be even studying about the sources to know about history. So first of all, we'll study about time frames in history. When we talk about time frames in history, we are going to discuss that how they are counting the years in history. Suppose if somebody asks you about your birthday, then you will be telling the person about the date, month and the year. In the same manner, when we talk about the events that occurred in past, we are mentioning the years. So there are certain time frames in history which are used to mention the years. This time period or the dates are counted in history as per the birth of Jesus Christ. As many of the countries are using the Christian era now, so we have also started using this time frames in history. BC, which is also known as BCE, AD, which is also known as CE, and BP. So let us discuss about these three time frames in detail. First time frame is BC or BCE. BC stands for before Christ. All the dates before the birth of Christ are expressed in BC. BC is even known as BCE, which means before Common Era. The dates basically in BCE are counted backwards. It means that date or that event occurred before the birth of Christ. Second time frame is AD, which is also known as CE. AD refers to Anno Domini. It means in the year of Lord. Here Jesus Christ is referred to as Lord. In place of AD, CE is also used, and CE stands for Common Era. It means all the dates or events which has happened after the birth of Jesus Christ are expressed in AD or CE. For example, as you know, this year is 2020. So if you want to express 2020 in AD or CE, it will be termed as AD 2020. It means 2020 years after the birth of Christ. Third time frame is BP, which means before present. It is also used to denote the past events. Normally 2000 AD is considered as the present age, and especially we Indians have started using these terms after the impact of Britishers about 200 years ago. Before Britishers came to India, we were counting the dates as per Vikram Samvat. But after the influence of Britishers, we have also started using AD or BC. So now we have studied about when, that how the dates are expressed. Now we are going to discuss about where, means from where the people developed or how history has evolved. So first of all, we are going to study about the geographical framework. As per the geography, history also changes. You can understand it by an example. The places which were having favorable conditions and environment are densely populated. Even those places were much prone to foreign attacks. The living style of people is different in these areas, and basically the culture of these areas is easily affected by the outsiders' influence, because these places attract more and more people from outside towards them. But on the other hand, the places which are having unfavorable conditions there the population is very less. The culture of these places are basically not affected by outside influence because it rarely attracts the outsiders. So in this manner, the geography of a place greatly affects the history of that place. Even the history of Indian continent has also changed as per its geography. The invaders from outside, those who attacked India, they brought a change in its geography, which has in turn led to the change in its history. So now, relating with the geographical framework, let us study that where the people started settling down. We can easily locate the places where the early humans settled. The reason was, as per the geography, the areas which they found more suitable, they started settling down into those areas. So now we are going to discuss about some of the areas where early humans settled. The first place where early humans settled was banks of rivers. Early humans initially settled at first onto the banks of river Narmada, and the traces of their habitation are being found there. At that time, the people were basically skilled gatherers or hunter-gatherers. They were more aware of the plants and the variety of food which they can get from those plants. They were collecting plants, their roots and fruits, and even some other types of forest produce. So in this manner, as the people were aware of the plant species, they were termed as skilled gatherers. Even at that time, the people were hunter-gatherers as well, because they used to hunt animals for food and even for their skin and their bones. So in this manner, the people initially settled on the banks of river Narmada and they stayed there for a long time. Second place where the traces of the habitation of people are found are the areas along the Suleiman and Kirthar hills. These areas are basically located onto the northwest of subcontinent. In these places only, people first started growing crops like wheat and barley, and that too around 8,000 years ago. And even people first started rearing different type of animals like goat and sheep. Next are the areas along the Vindhyas and Garo hills. These were the places where agriculture developed. People first started growing rice in these regions only. Next place of habitation was near to river Indus and its tributaries. Some of the earlier cities flourished onto the bank of river Indus and its tributaries around 4,700 years ago, and which has resulted in the emergence of a civilization known as Indus Valley Civilization. This civilization got the name as per its location near to the river Indus. Next place of habitation is onto the bank of river Ganga and its tributaries. About 2,500 years ago, cities started developing onto the banks of river Ganga and its tributaries and even onto the sea coast. During this time only, kingdoms were also set up in different parts of the country. One of the powerful kingdom of the earlier times was Magad, and it was situated onto the south of river Ganga and its tributary Son. Magad was one of the very powerful kingdom of the earliest times, and the rulers of this kingdom were very powerful, and they have set up a very big kingdom along the bank of river Ganga. Now, as we have discussed that people have settled at different places, and in the first chapter we have discussed that people used to migrate from one place to another. So now we are going to study that why the people used to travel from one place to another. Due to lack of resources, traveling was very dangerous for the ancient people. But still, they used to move from one place to another. Some reasons for the movement were, first, for livelihood. People used to move from one place to another in search of a place of living and for their livelihood. Second, to escape from natural disasters. To prevent themselves from disasters like floods and drought, They migrate from one place to another so that they can have a proper living. Third reason is to capture lands. People move from one place to another to capture or to overtake other lands. At times, people moved in groups and in the form of armies to conquer distant lands. Next reason is for trade. During earlier times also, people used to travel from one place to another for trade. They used to carry their goods in caravans or ships, and they used to travel from one place to another to find a better market for selling their goods. Next reason for movement is to preach. Even the religious teachers, they also moved from one place to another. And the reason for their movement is to teach people and to make them aware of different religious beliefs. These religious teachers moved from village to village, from one town to another, and they stayed in between so that they can advise and they can guide the people, those who are living in those areas. Last reason for movement is for adventure. As we know, there were many people, those who were excited to explore new places. So, to discover new places and to study about them, the people used to move from one place to another. So, these movements are even bringing change in the lifestyle of the people. So, now let us discuss that what are the changes which has entered into the life of people due to these movements. So, the first impact of movement is that it had enriched our cultural heritage. When the people move, they share their ideas and thoughts with the people, those who are living in different areas. And even they used to share their culture and traditions with them. So this has led to enrichment in the cultural backgrounds of the people and had made them aware of the new traditions related to other countries as well. Next impact is movement has enriched the knowledge of the people. Over several hundreds years, people have learned new methods from the travelers or from the people, those who are coming to their places from far away. People have learned different styles of cooking, patterns of stone carving, and different type of art forms even. So in this manner, this movement of people has led to an enrichment in the culture as well as knowledge of the people. Now let us discuss about the name of our country. How the Indian subcontinent got the name India and Bharat. As per the movement of people, they started naming the places in a different manner. So first of all, we'll discuss about how our country got the name India. The name India was given to our country or to the continent by Greeks and Iranians about 2500 years ago. As the Greeks and Iranians approached our country from northwest, so they were aware of river Indus and they used to call it Indos or Hindos. So on behalf of this river Indus, they have named the subcontinent as India, because it lies to the east of river Indus. So initially the name India was given to our continent because of river Indus. Next we are going to study how our country got the name Bharat. Bharat was initially the word which is used for the inhabitants, those who were living in northwest. This term was initially used in Rig Veda, which was a religious composition in Sanskrit. And later on, this term was used for the whole country. So in this manner, starting on behalf of the people, later our country has got this name Bharat. Now let us discuss even from where this word Hindu generated. This word Hindu was also given by Greeks and Iranians, as they were aware of river Indus and they used to name it as Hindus. So on the basis of this word Hindus, they used this term Hindu. And even river Indus is called as Sindhu in Sanskrit. So combining these two words Sindhu and Hindus, they started using the term Hindu. Now let us discuss about what are the sources to know about our history. Basically, there are two sources to know about history. These are archaeological sources and literary sources. Archaeological sources basically relates with whatever is present in the form of a building, monument, coin, art forms. On the other hand, literary sources relates with the written things, documents, books, diaries, biographies, etc. So now we are going to study about these archaeological and literary sources in detail. First of all, we'll be discussing about archaeological sources, buildings or monuments. Any building which is of historical importance is termed as an ancient monument because that building was constructed in past and is even present now. At times, these archaeological sources are even buried under the earth and they are taken out in excavations. Example of excavations are the remains of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. And even the example of archaeological sources which are still present is Taj Mahal in Agra. These buildings or monuments depicts about art and architecture of that time and even about the social and economic life of the people during that time period. These monuments can even be in the form of temples, forts, monasteries, stupas, mosques, etc. So in this manner, any sort of historical building is termed as a monument. Next archaeological source is coins. Basically, the study of coins is called as numismatics. Coins tells us about the kings, their empires, the language, art, culture, dates, and even about religion and literary skills. And even whatever is carved on the coin depicts about the king and even about the art and culture of that time period. Next archaeological source is other objects. As we have discussed that archaeological sources even relates with the things which the archaeologists are finding from under the surface of earth. So in this manner, other objects includes pots, tools, weapons, jewelry, ornaments, etc. All these things are found out by digging the surface of the earth. And these things are even made up of stones, clay, bones, or metals. Even when the archaeologists are excavating, they are even searching for the remains of animals like bones of different type of animals, birds and fishes. They are finding these things to know about the eating habits of the early humans, that what things the people used to eat. Even seeds of different type of fruits are even being found during the excavations. Next, we are going to study about literary sources. As I have explained, literary sources relates with the written document. Whatever is in a written form is termed as literary source. Now we are going to discuss about manuscripts. Manuscripts are basically the books which are written by hand long ago. Manuscripts were initially written on palm leaves and on the bark of birch tree which is found in Himalayas. Manuscripts are in the form of epics, poems and plays and were generally written in Sanskrit, Prakrit and Tamil language. Next literary source is inscriptions. Inscriptions are basically the writings on hard surfaces like stones and metals. In earlier times, the kings used to get their orders, their deeds and their victories inscribed on rocks and pillars. And these rocks and pillars are generally set up onto the center of the city or the kingdom so that more and more people can see to those, and it acts as a record for the deeds and actions of the kings. So So we can say that inscriptions consist of the orders of kings, their victories, their deeds, and even their preachings. On the other hand, the common people, they were not keeping any record of anything, as they were poor, illiterate, and they were not aware of its advantages. The art of studying the inscriptions is known as epigraphy. The process of reading and understanding the script which is used in inscriptions is known as decipherment. Now the question comes, what is a script? Script is basically the letters, signs or symbols which are used to express the feelings by the people. In earlier times, mostly the early humans, they were using signs and symbols to express themselves. So those signs and symbols later on got converted into a script. As we have discussed right now, that the life of kings were different from the life of common people. So we can say that the past was different for different people. On one hand, where the kings were leading a luxurious life, they were having all sorts of facilities. In the same manner, kings generally used to get their orders inscribed onto the rocks and pillars, and they keep a record of all their deeds and preachings and even actions. On the other hand, the ordinary people, those who are basically farmers, herders or small artisans, they were not aware of the advantages of keeping the records. Neither they were living a luxurious life. The ordinary people are mostly very poor, that they are not able to get meals even twice a day, and they were struggling for their livelihood. And these differences are visible even today. Now also you can see a great difference between the life of poor people and rich people. So in this manner, we have discussed about the habitation of people, reason for their movements and the sources to know about these movements, and about the life of kings and ordinary people. So this was all about the chapter. So before winding up, let us discuss about some important points related to the chapter. The study of human history through excavation of sites is known as archaeology. A person who studies the past is known as historian. A book or document written by hand is called manuscript. Agriculture developed around 8,000 years ago. The first cities developed on the banks of river Indus about 4,700 years ago. The people who study the remains of buildings and sculptures are called archaeologists. Historians are scholars who study the past. So this was all about the chapter. With this, we are going to wind up today's class. Goodbye for now. Stay home, stay safe.